You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We are coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Radio Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, business coach at Draw In Customers Business Coaching and author of The Bold Business Book. Today, we are welcoming / preparing to learn from Dan Dolbeau of Panther Exteriors. Did I say that right?
You did say that right.
Awesome. So
very difficult.
It struck me with the cat. So tell me about the name. How'd you come up with the name?
I needed a logo. It's an easy logo. I think it's identifiable. Roofing shoes are called cat paws anyway. So.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they are. So also we'll be locating our business shortly into Oregon, and that happens to be their mascot. So we'll be involved with baseball and soccer and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So
well, that works out cool.
I thought it would look nice on a center field wall, you know.
Nice. Spring is coming. So tell me a story about what exactly you do. I know for sure you do roofs, right?
I do exteriors. So okay. I do roofing and siding and windows and things like that.
Gotcha. All the stuff they can break in a house on the outside.
All the outside stuff nobody wants to do. The DIY guys try to stay off the roof.
Gotcha. So. Yeah. And I've only seen one DIY siding job, and I think they had to do it somebody else after they did it the first time.
Yeah, I've seen that stuff before too. Yeah.
It's a pain. So why don't you tell me how long has Panther Exteriors been around?
So Panther Exteriors is actually a new company this year. I've been in business under another name before. My partner, he really didn't have the time to stick with it. So sure. It's just a small family business. My wife and I run it.
Nice.
So, but I've been in the roofing business for about 9 years.
All right.
Prior to that, I was a painter.
A painter?
Yeah.
So do you like roofing better than painting?
I couldn't pick up a paintbrush right now if my life depended on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it weighs like 50 pounds. I just can't do it anymore.
Just too much.
Probably did it for about 30 years almost. So.
Holy cow.
I'm no spring chicken.
All right. So you have started and ran a couple businesses then, it sounds like.
More than a couple, James.
All right.
I have a few business experiences to share with you guys.
How many would you say?
Probably about a half a dozen.
All right.
You know.
All right.
Including my original paint company, my last painting company. I had a real estate business for a few years out in Summit County, Colorado, and I also owned a bar and grill, which was a lot of fun.
All right. You didn't end up drinking all your profits, I assume, right?
No, we didn't drink all of our profits. Owning a restaurant, if anybody does this, you're 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. So.
Sure. So that got a little old?
Yeah, you bleed money when you walk out the door. Yeah,
right.
So that got a little bit old. We actually sold that building with our real estate company.
Oh, really?
Probably the only bar in Summit County, Colorado to close down that people didn't run away with their booze in the middle of the night. We could actually stay and live in the community after that, so that was nice.
Oh, really? Gotcha,
yeah.
Okay. So you had some ethics, so that's cool, or have some ethics.
I try to have ethics. I think that's really important.
Sure.
You can't be in business for yourself if you don't have some kind of line in the sand that you won't cross. So yeah.
Well, I imagine in the roofing industry or construction industry as a whole, sometimes that line in the sand.
Roofing industry especially. Yeah,
okay.
For sure. For sure.
There's shady.
A little shady, you don't have to go down that path. You have to do, I think you always in business, you have to do what's right with you. You got to look in the mirror in the morning and you got to get off and go to work. And I choose to stay away from that kind of stuff.
Sure. Smart.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, what have been your secrets to success then in this business and others before?
Not being afraid to fail. I think if you're going to be successful in business, you're probably going to have a handful of experiences that didn't work out. I think, you got to, be a little courageous, wake up in the morning and go about and do it.
Sure.
But you're going to fail. For sure you're going to fail.
All right.
I mean, I've made more mistakes than I can remember, and I probably will make a few more today. So.
Sure. Do you want to share the top one or two?
Sometimes you make a mistake of judgment, when you're trying to judge people that you do business with. Sometimes you should be maybe harder working at points, more diligent. There's, everything could be looked at as a mistake that doesn't go right.
Sure.
Some are big and some are small, but
sure. You learn from them all, right?
Hopefully.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. So with painting, you're in the construction industry. With roofing, you're in the construction industry. Are there a lot of similarities between the two?
Oh, totally. Well, so you're a contractor, right? So, basically you're selling something that somebody needs, and you're providing a service, something that they can't do themselves, and you're trying to do the best that you can for them and make your money and go down the road. I mean, that's why we're in business.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
One good rule that I've always followed is under promise and over perform. I think a lot of guys that you talk to will say that.
Sure.
Sure. It keeps your customers happy. It keeps you out of court.
Right. I guess I hear a lot of people say that, or a lot of business owners say that, but I got to be honest, with a lot of business owners that I see, I don't know if they exactly follow the path that they've.
I know a lot of guys
spoken.
that end up in court, and I've never been in court. I will always lose before I go to court. So if it comes down to a few bucks or something like that,
sure,
I would much rather lose the few dollars or whatever it is than end up in court. So
wow,
I've never gone. But I'd see guys, they always need to win.
Sure, right.
And I think that gets in your way.
Right on. Absolutely.
Yeah,
you got that negativity just hanging around.
Yeah, you don't want that.
No.
You don't want that. Like I said, you want to wake up in the morning and feel good about going about your day.
Sure.
Those things add up and they get really heavy. So you don't want to add those to your burden.
Right. So Panther Exterior's been around for how long now?
So Panther, this is the first year for Panther, and then we were under another name for a couple of years, and then before that, I was a general manager of a construction company doing the same thing
Sure.
I'm doing now.
Sure.
And then prior to that, I worked for a couple other roofing companies, getting to know the business. When I was in Colorado, I had a painting company, and we did mostly cedar and log siding. Well, when I come back here, they really don't have cedar and log siding around.
Not
here.
a ton.
So I kind of had to reinvent myself and learn. So
sure. Was that expected when you came here?
I kind of knew I'm from here originally, so
Gotcha.
it wasn't a big surprise.
Okay. So roofing, just generally speaking, is hard work, right? I mean, you only work in the warmer once, and when it is warmer, sometimes it can be on the verge of hot.
Yeah, it can be too warm.
And you're hanging out up high on a huge black asphalt thing.
Well, one of the things that is, painting and roofing have in common is it's very methodical. You're going to do this, then you're going to do that, then you're going to do this,
Sure.
and then you're going to do that, and you work your way through it. As talented as your guys are to be able to keep to that, is as successful as you're going to have to be on a job. Yeah,
That's fair.
Sure.
That's fair. I can remember looking at a commercial building that's had kind of a residential design to it in the roof, and it had guys, you could see the pattern that they were making with the roof, how they had one guy on top of the roof unboxing the shingles, another guy was sending the shingles down to the guys.
They don't even talk to each other.
Yeah, it was just it was a system, man. They were machines,
Yeah,
and I think they had 2 or 3 guys that were actually pounding the nails in, with the little air guns or whatever.
Yep.
And it was just shingle, bam, 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 bam.
Right.
And it was mesmerizing to watch. I was just sitting at a stoplight going like, if any one of those guys messed up or said like, hey, I got to take a break, the system breaks.
Yeah, it doesn't really happen that way.
So it's just
you're
like,
part of a team,
Yeah.
If you're playing basketball and you decide not to play defense, what would
Right.
happen?
Right, absolutely. So it's interesting how these guys, they got a roof, or they're working on the roof, and it was so systematized. It was cool to watch. And you think like that's very easy to look at with a roof and stuff like that, but I imagine there's other facets of business that should be or could be systematized in that same way.
Yeah, hopefully, right? I mean, it's not the only part of exteriors we do. So yeah, anything. Windows are similar and siding similar. And
Sure.
all that.
So siding, what are your thoughts on vinyl siding? I've always been curious about this.
Well, vinyl siding's come a long way in the last 15, 20 years.
Okay.
It used to be the cheap thing to put on your house.
Sure.
And they've made, great leaps of progress with colors and styles and things like that. So, yeah.
Is it more durable at all?
Well, there's different thicknesses, so
Okay.
some of it's more durable than other stuff. It's going to last a long time. It's going to shed the water from your house, which is what it's designed to do.
Sure.
And then underneath a good siding job, you'll find some house wrap. So that's going to keep the air from moving through. And
Sure.
so,
All right.
but it's all about the same. There's a plan to get every job done, and
Sure.
your workers go there and they knock it out.
Okay, nice. And then windows, have there been a lot of movement in there in regards to technology or affordability?
Oh yeah, that's a 5-hour conversation.
Okay.
I'm probably not, the most adept at explaining. I have to sit down every year with my suppliers and relearn
Sure.
stuff and find out what's going on in the business.
Gotcha.
So,
All right. Is it to the point that windows are as efficient as a wall, or we're not there yet?
No, probably not there yet, but you got triple paint. It depends on how much you spend, really.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah,
it all comes down to dollars. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me, what are your thoughts on metal roofs then?
I'm not. We can do metal roofs, but I'm not a super big metal roof fan. We had metal roofs out in Colorado. It was a big deal. The insurance company wanted you to have a metal roof, and they would give you discounts.
Oh, really?
Because of the fire resistance.
Sure.
Metal roof in a forest. But they came to find out after a while that they had a lot of claims with big chunks of ice slipping down metal roofs and crushing decks and cars and things
Sure.
like that. So, like, we have a lot of hail damage claims here with insurance companies. Colorado, you're going to see a lot of, they're like freight trains when they come off the roof. They absolutely crush everything underneath.
Gotcha.
So they've actually gone back. They're going back to asphalt shingle roofs.
Are they really?
Yeah, yeah.
So is the deal just with a metal roof that it's so smooth? Where an asphalt shingle has some texture to keep the snow nice.
There's probably a bit of that. And you can put snow stops on a metal roof. Look, a metal roof is going to cost you twice as much. If you really like the way it looks aesthetically,
Sure.
then go ahead and put on a metal roof, all right? It's going to last twice as long as an asphalt shingle roof,
Okay.
all right? But over those years, it's going to wear. I just as soon put on 2 asphalt shingle roofs over the course of, 35, 40 years than
Gotcha.
pay. Unless, of course, you really, really like the way it looks.
Right.
I'm not all for them. So.
Right. All right. What are your thoughts on the whole the solar roof thing and solar shingles?
Oh, I think it's really cool.
All right.
I really think that's cool. I'm all for green energy, and I don't know how that's going to work out for Mr. Musk. He's actually called to inquire. But he's going to have his own people actually putting these roofs on, is my understanding.
Really?
So I don't really know. I haven't seen a big wave of it.
Sure.
I don't feel like I'm competing against it yet.
No.
But if you have solar panels, though, on your roof, I'm kind of for that. Anything to lighten the load on the environment.
Sure. That makes sense.
We do other things, too. We recycle old shingles. They end up as roads. So yeah,
They shred them, or what do they do with
they
them?
just grind them up and turn them into something else.
Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah, I'm all for green.
Sure. And is that common that every roofer does that, or is that more?
Yeah. Well, when we take our shingles to the dump,
Yeah.
we put it in a place called Clean Shingles.
Okay.
So there's nothing else in there.
So no nails, or do they?
No, nails will go in there, obviously, but there won't be any plastics or metals or
Gotcha.
other stuff in there.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's something that the grinder's acceptable, or
Yeah,
is
just
okay
as clean as they can get it. Yeah.
Sure. And then they just slap that in with some tar and.
Make it into
Call it a
something
road.
new. They do it with plastics, They make
Huh.
playground stuff out
Sure.
of milk jugs,
Sure.
So it's a good idea.
We're getting better. So you own a few businesses, so you must have a few things that you like about owning your business.
Oh yeah, and you do too. The listeners should know that I've met James before. We've had a few of these conversations, but it's nice not having a boss.
Right.
It really is. Not everybody can do that, James. I mean, you
No.
probably have seen that. I know you do some coaching and things, but not everybody can be a salesman and an accountant and an IT guy.
Sure.
And
Right.
right, the marketer and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of how it is when you own a business, small business. But on the other hand, if I don't want to wake up until 10 o'clock, it's my choice.
Sure.
I don't have to worry about punching the clock.
Right.
And I really hate making other people money.
Sure.
I'd rather make
There's-
money for myself, So if I'm
There's
going to
something
do
you
it,
said, yeah. If you're going to do the work,
a lot of times, like for example, today I went to the dump. I was there at 9:30.
okay.
I might get down on myself because, maybe I should have been there at 7 o'clock.
Sure.
Then I would have had more done in the day. So, sometimes I look at myself and I'm a little hypercritical. I might think I'm a slacker or, I'm slacking
Sure.
off that day or whatever it is. Although I've recently been told by a friend of mine that I'm the hardest working guy that he knows, So,
Nice.
so I guess it's a matter of perception, I suppose.
Absolutely. It's all relative, right?
Yeah, if you're not going to be able to kick yourself in the butt and go, you don't really need to own your own business.
No.
Go
No.
punch the clock, that's fine. That's for some people. So.
Sure. There has to be a certain factor of self-motivating that's happening.
Yeah.
It's not a whole lot of people
Yeah.
pushing you, right, when you're on your own.
Yeah, and with what I do, it's kind of immediate gratification because it's bam, 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 done with the job, on to the next one.
Sure.
So I think in our society we like that, credit cards, and we want it now.
Right.
Amazon delivery, we don't
Sure.
want to wait 2 weeks for that shirt,
Yeah, I want that drone to show up as soon as we click add
Yeah.
the cart, right?
Absolutely.
Interesting. So what have been some challenges in starting this specific business with your Panther exteriors?
I did this, 2-3 years ago with another business.
Mm-hmm.
And then prior to that, when I was a general manager of another business, I did it for that one too. So
Okay.
I'm kind of 3 times through this now. So I wouldn't say things are challenging so
Okay.
much, and I kind of know what I need to do.
Sure.
So it really hasn't been that difficult. I have the same phone number. I work a lot on referrals.
Sure.
Probably last year, I probably did about 90% of my work was referrals and
Wow.
and repeat customers,
All
which,
right.
is,
Well,
which is nice. That's what you like.
That says something about the quality of the work that you do, so that's good.
Yeah.
All right. I got a few more questions I want to roll through here. Do you have employees?
I have a couple. I'll have a couple employees with that business, and then I also use some crews.
Gotcha.
It's because of the seasonality of our business. It's
Oh.
hard to have those guys all through the year.
Sure.
So I can keep a few. I had my wife come on board
Nice.
recently to run the office.
Sure.
She was just running somebody else's office, So why not run our own office?
Sure.
Full disclosure, James, she's not really my wife.
All right.
She's my girlfriend. I just call her my wife because I don't want my buddies to think I'd let my girlfriend push me around like
Right.
that, So,
That's awesome. So is she part owner, or is it you?
yeah,
and she's an employee?
it's our business. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So she's
Okay.
part owner, and we go at it.
Gotcha. So there has to be a challenge sometimes at night when you guys shutting her down, and then you want to stop talking about business and talk about anything else, right?
No, we can talk about anything else all the time, So no, there's not really,
Okay. No challenges that way.
Well, James, you might know this. I mean, there's no shutting it down at the end of the night.
Not 100%. No.
The phone's going to ring, or you're going to make phone calls. Certainly for me on the weekends, I need to show up at my clients' houses because that's when their time off is.
Sure.
So
Sure.
a lot of times, I'm out at night and I'm out on the weekends.
Sure.
My customers generally aren't around at 10 o'clock in the morning. So if I got other stuff to get done, I do that, and then I meet with them.
Gotcha.
later.
All right. Is it tough to find employees for roofing?
No, I actually been working with the same crew for probably about 5 or 6 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Same guys. Yeah.
All right.
So I have trust in them. I have confidence in them, and in return, they have trust and confidence in me, and that
Sure.
that helps get through some some issues sometimes when you have history.
Sure. So at Shingles, I know a lot of times people are just trying to get a free roof from the insurance company or something like that. How
Yeah.
often do you run into stuff like that?
Every day.
That's pretty often. All right.
Every day. There's I'll try to make it a short version, but there's a type of roofer that we refer to as a storm chaser, and he's basically the guy that knocks on your door and says, "Hey, let's file a claim on your roof, and we'll get your insurance company to give you a free
Sure.
roof. Won't cost you a dime."
Right.
Well, I like to do insurance work. It pays more. That's why those people do that. All right. Then you have a retail insurance or a retail roofing company that doesn't do any insurance work.
Sure.
I am educated in roof damage assessment. So
Okay.
when I look at your roof, I know what I'm doing. So most of the time when I'm doing an insurance roof, an insurance company will call me and say, "Hey, I have this client over here, thinks he might have hail damage," and I go take a look. And then if I think he has hail damage, I'll let him know. Yeah, file a claim. To give you an idea, out of about 40 roofs last year that I got up on for just this purpose, I suggested 5.
Wow.
Okay. And they were all approved. I don't want to have suggest a roof for replacement and it's not approved by an adjuster.
Sure.
They're not going to call me back. I'm not.
Right.
That means I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
So yeah, then you don't want to have too many claims on your insurance. Some companies will drop you, and so we want to be smart when we do that. So that's a service that I provide to insurance companies and homeowners. If anybody would want to have that done, then they just call me and I go out there and I tell them, and I measure their roof. I check. I do a whole inspection. I tell them how long they got. you know, what if I see any problems, you know,
Sure.
and let them know. And hopefully in the future that all comes back to me.
Right? In the end, it should, right?
I hope so.
So that's the idea. It's interesting that we're talking about the insurance stuff. Because I had my garage, I don't know, I had an addition on my garage. We ended up putting a roof on, and the construction guy that was doing the garage said, hey, why don't you just, you have some hail damage on your roof.
Right.
It's not that bad, but why don't you just have somebody come look at it, right? So I'm like, I don't know what to look for. It just, they're all shingles to me.
Why would you know?
Yeah, so I don't know what hail damage looks like. So he's like, just give me the phone number for your insurance guy. I'll just do it.
Yeah, that's not supposed to happen, James.
So phone number happens. Insurance adjuster guy shows up. I guess I wasn't there, so whatever. So insurance people say like, hey, there's not enough damage for an insurance claim.
Sure.
So I'm like,
which is often the case.
sure. So I'm like, all right, I got to have the roof done anyways with this garage thing. So that's just.
But now you have a claim on your.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, that's a thing, James. You get a claim for that, whether they give you a check or not.
Yeah, so
try that 3 years in a row and see what happens to your insurance.
No, so this is what happened, right? I tried to change insurance companies 4 years and 9 months later, and they're like, oh.
This will go down on your permanent record.
Yeah, funny. No. They're like, oh, that quote that we gave you a week ago? Yeah, funny story. That's wrong because you got this claim. And I'm like, claim? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I learned that there's this company that their job is to keep track of claims, right?
Sure.
They
don't tell you that when they're knocking on your door.
No.
Yeah, and take it even farther. When you go to buy a house, you have to show the lender that you can get insurance,
sure.
for the loan because that's their house. You're
right.
paying for the insurance, and then it gets a little sticky. It can get a little sticky sometimes there too.
I had no idea.
And then you end up with garbage insurance for your house.
Right. So I had no idea that essentially asking for the insurance company if this is a promise they're willing to keep.
Do it. Yeah.
I should call someone like you to just say, hey, look at this house. Essentially a neutral third party.
So if I went to look at your house,
mm-hmm.
I would come down from the roof and I'd say, James, for your particular insurance company, because they're all different.
Sure.
For your particular insurance company, you probably shouldn't be filing a claim.
All right.
And then I keep you from doing that. A lot of times you should know because, if you have a big hail
mm-hmm.
event, a lot of your neighbors are going through that and you kind of will
sure.
see them. You see the signs actually show up from
mm-hmm.
the storm chaser companies.
Mm-hmm.
They are working off of point data information and they all get the same information. It's a subscription service.
Okay.
And they can tell how big that hail was that hit your house last May 12th.
Oh, really?
At 4 o'clock.
Sure.
And that's how they get there.
Okay.
So you probably didn't have hail damage unless you had some crazy business like that going on in your neighborhood.
Yeah,
probably.
This is interesting because I know that we have had neighbors in this particular case. We had neighbors around us that got a roof with hail damage and stuff like that.
And you didn't.
I did not.
Well, there's a reason for that too.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
So when you have insurance with a bigger insurance company that has a large representation in an area, they'll have adjusters on staff that get paid a salary.
Okay.
And they go up there and they're going to give it, if you have hail damage, they'll pay for it. But if you don't, they're not going to pay for that.
All right.
And they have certain parameters.
Sure.
Some of them might need this much hail damage. Some of them might need that much hail damage. So they're all different. I know, quite a few of them, how they work.
Sure.
But your neighbor might have had a smaller insurance company and with a smaller representation in an area. So they'll use what's called a third-party adjuster.
Okay.
That adjuster typically gets paid on what he writes.
Okay.
So he's not going to want to drive halfway across the state of Wisconsin to come visit you on a Wednesday afternoon and only get paid $50 for the trip.
Uh-huh.
He might be likely to find something up there that, he might have approved that same amount of hail damage that the other guy disapproved.
Interesting. Okay.
So those are actually two problems. Some of it is the storm chaser.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it is the insurance company.
Sure.
To be frank. But some of it is also an overzealous homeowner.
Sure.
That needs a new roof,
mm-hmm.
But can't afford a new roof.
Sure.
And he's taking advantage of the opportunity.
All right.
They kind of see that happening when you've done it 3 years in a row.
Sure.
They understand what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to get rid of all that just by going up there and telling you like it is.
Sure.
If it's a no, it's a no. If it's a yes, hey, that's free money for me,
Right.
if it's a yes. So it didn't cost me any money advertising or anything like that.
Sure.
Is what I mean by free money.
Easy for the homeowner from a sales point of view, because they're like, yeah, I
Right.
get a roof from the insurance company, away we go, right?
So really, if I have to look at 10 roofs and approve one roof, it's a lot of work, all right? But, in the end, it should pay off.
Sure.
So
Sure. So from a physical point of view with a shingle, what is hail doing to it?
So hail is hail's of different hardness.
Sure.
Right. Some hail is harder than others. Like when we get lake effect hail in Milwaukee, we'll get this big hail, but it's softer.
Okay.
So here we get, we might get a 3/4 to 1.25 inch piece of hail that's flying at your house at light speed, and it hits your roof.
Sure.
And it puts on your roof what we call a bruised apple. You can put your thumb in it, and it's pretty innocuous. It's no big deal. It's not going to do anything. There's not a hole in your roof.
Sure.
You typically have a year to report it.
Okay.
And then, going in 3-4 years, then it starts to deteriorate the fiberglass backing in the shingle.
Okay.
Shows like some spider webs, and becomes a hole in your roof.
Okay.
So that's the insurance company are technically replacing your roof so as not to be hit with a claim for the inside of your house later.
Sure.
So
Gotcha.
I guess in theory that's how it works.
So are there shingles that are more resistant to stuff like that?
There are. We use. There's some shingles down south. They use more down south. They're impact resistant shingles. They cost more money, but down south, like in Texas and those states down there, they get a bigger, harder hail.
Okay.
So they need that. But a good brand of shingles up here probably that's enough for you.
Gotcha.
Like a Owens Corning or
Just typical
GAF.
name brand stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So when you see stuff like that, do you say like, hey, within the next year or two, you're gonna need to get this happen or fix this, or is it after a hailstorm, all of a sudden, heaven is raining into your house kind of thing?
Well, after the hailstorm hits the storm chasers.
Gotcha.
So they start running around and knocking on your door, and they drive people nuts.
Sure.
They're not from here.
Okay.
So
you see a bunch of trucks you don't recognize going door to door with little door.
Yeah, they
hangers or
typically
something
have
like
a lot of lettering on and look really obnoxious.
Sure.
Yeah,
that. All right.
that's them.
I've had lettering on my cars.
Yeah, but you're not in the roof business. It's
No, the roof business scares me. Just even speaking of insurance, just from the liability on employees alone.
Yeah.
Employment
Insurance
compensation.
is
stuff like
a
that,
big
workman's comp.
insurance is a big deal. Yeah, I'm going through that right now. Insurance is a big deal.
Yeah.
My subcontractors have to have the proper insurance to work with me, and workman's comp is one of those things. If they don't have workman's comp and they're doing work for me and I get audited, I got to pay for that.
Oh.
And you don't want to get involved in that situation because
No.
that's a quick $30,000 out of your pocket overnight. You don't want to do that.
Sure.
So
Sure.
You want to be properly insured and
Right.
licensed and all
Right.
that. Yep.
Do that, and I imagine there's tons of rules with being harnessed and all that kind of stuff because you don't want people falling.
Those are
off
more like
roofs.
OSHA rules,
Okay.
and there's tons of rules, and they'll come around, and they'll come around any construction site,
Okay.
no matter what you're doing, and they'll inspect you and make sure you're doing it the way you're supposed to be doing it.
Gotcha. All right. I imagine there's fines there if you don't do what you're supposed to.
All
do.
sorts of stuff. Yeah, forget to put a rail on a staircase or something like that inside a house.
Sure.
It's going to cost you money.
All right.
Yeah. Or if you have a window that's a foot off the ground, you
Sure.
have to have that supported, blocked off too. Just sometimes people don't think about, all of them, but yeah,
Right.
it'll cost you money if you don't do it right.
So, just out of curiosity, there's fines happening all the time, I imagine, for stuff like this. Where does that money go?
James, I don't really know. I've never had a fine.
Okay, well, that's
I've
good.
never had to deal with anything like that.
Sure.
But I don't know. Hopefully it goes to a good place. Maybe it goes to feed the kids or something.
Sure. Okay.
Something nice.
Somewhere presumably good.
Somewhere nice.
All right. So I always like to ask about decision making because when you got business, you're making decisions all the time.
All the time. Quick.
And so generally speaking, business people have a system, whether they realize it or not, in order to make decisions.
Yep.
So are you aware of your decision making process? And
James, you know me. Am I a good decision maker? Can I pull the trigger on something quick enough?
Yeah, I would say so. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be. Really, I didn't know all that stuff it's when you're in business for yourself, you better surround yourself with people that are going to bring something to your table.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you'll learn, you know, from them. Don't bring a bunch of people in your life that are going to
bring it down.
Teach. You want to learn from the people around you. Yeah.
Sure.
So that was a learned behavior for me.
Okay.
You know, for sure.
All right. So what do you use for decision making process?
Well, I use my head. I just, you know, I try to make a decision quick as it needs to be made. I mean, obviously some things you better sit back and think about a little bit longer.
Sure.
But, you know, if you do that on everything that you got,
right,
you're spending a lot of time.
Sure. So we talking like just go through like the whole pro-con list thing, or just gut feeling kind of thing?
Hey, you know, I'm a big advocate of your gut feeling. You know,
Okay.
You got this thing in the middle of your sternum there. You call it your chi. Consult your chi. If it makes you nauseous, don't do it.
Sure. All right.
That goes for who you work for and all that kind of stuff. For example, let's say I come over to your house, James, and you want a roof.
Yeah.
And in talking about your roof, you set off a few red flags.
Okay.
I have to recognize that,
Mm-hmm.
all right, so I don't make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
I have to recognize that and know when to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
That was also learned behavior.
Okay.
All right. You need to, you know, when I go to your house, you're deciding on whether or not you want me to put your roof on, but at the same time, I'm deciding whether or not I want to put your roof on. So if you come right out and you say, wow, I'm sure glad you're here, Dan. You know, I've had such bad luck with contractors.
Sure.
You know, they don't show up. Bing, red flag.
Sure.
Okay, I'm not the first.
Even though that's an honest statement.
I know, yeah. You know, you save yourself a lot of grief, you know,
Yeah.
even if it's a big job,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you see those red flags, you know, you don't want to sit there every day dealing with, you know, 3 or 4 of these situations that,
Sure.
yeah.
It's
So
interesting.
I do that. You have to do that. I'm sure you do something similar.
Yeah, I got a process. It's interesting you say about the contractor not showing up. I came home one day when my roof was getting done, and there's a radio just blaring, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can hear an air compressor going.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, I should probably see how things are going, right? See what's going on. I'm spending some money. Should probably say hi. I can't find the guy to save my life.
There was one guy doing your roof.
There's no guy.
There was one guy before doing your roof.
Presumably, at one point there was a guy, but this guy apparently left. And I was like, oh, maybe he went to take a leak or something like that, right? Can't find him. So I shut the radio off, figuring he's jamming wherever he is. And if I shut his radio off, he'll be like, hey, turn that back on, right? It doesn't happen. So I shut off the air compressor because I just didn't want that whining. There's an air hose going to the roof with no gun on it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's going on here?
Where did you find this roofing company?
It
Is
was
that the one that knocked on your door?
It was a referral through the company that did the garage.
Oh.
So they subbed him out. So just some dude, I'm pretty sure is who it was.
Barstool roofers, I call them.
Barstool roofer, right?
Yeah.
So not terribly off balance, not terribly incorrect there. So I can't find the guy to save my life. So I call up my my general contractor guy, and I'm like, hey, funny story. Roofer guy's not here, but his stuff is here, and I can't seem to find him. Do you have a cell phone or something? Because then I start going in this like, oh, is he behind a tree?
Sure.
Like he didn't fall down?
Sure. And you start to get worried,
Yeah.
I mean, you have an open roof
Yep.
and all that. So I feel your pain.
Yeah.
I've seen that show.
All right.
For my company, let's say you have a 40 square roof, which is a pretty big roof. All right.
Okay.
We show up at 7:30 in the morning. The first person you see is me.
Sure.
And the dance begins. We get that roof off in a couple hours. It's in a dumpster, or it's in a trailer, actually. I don't use dumpsters if I can avoid them. It's in a trailer in front of your house.
Sure.
We get the underlayment on, and just as we get the underlayment off, the perfectly scheduled material drop shows up.
Nice.
A big truck and drops it on your roof. That
Sure.
way we just smoothly go through the entire
All right.
thing.
Boom,
so we
boom,
can
boom.
do about 40 in a day.
40.
Square.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's a
It's like
big
40
house.
rows.
That's a big house.
Sure. Okay. So you're talking 40 square feet.
No, a square in roofing is 10 by 10 area.
Oh, gotcha.
So if
Okay.
I have 40 of those,
Who comes up with this stuff?
I don't know who came up with that, but usually I'm interested in that kind of stuff.
Like some
I should,
roofer
maybe I
somewhere
should know
decided-
where that comes from, but yeah.
Sure. Interesting. All right. So it's just it's systematized. Boom, boom, boom. It's all done.
Yeah, it's very systematized.
So you don't have
That's
to
a
wait
word.
around and hope that it doesn't rain tomorrow while your roof is off.
Well, look, I do, at the most, I might do 2 roofs in a week.
Okay.
I'm going to schedule my roof
Mm-hmm.
so that all of those things can run smoothly, including the weather, including the material drop at
Sure.
the right time and all that. So it doesn't matter to me if I do the roof on a Wednesday or Friday or Thursday or something.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
And you know, every now and then you don't get a roof done and you have some weather coming.
Sure.
And that's, I never sleep on that one.
Uh,
I've never had a problem, but I never sleep on that
Sure.
one.
No, I get you. I get you. So tell me, do you have a hiring process that you go with in order to hire people, or even just to vet some of the subs that you deal with? So I imagine there's a lot of people with the roofing company, right? The Barstool guys.
Every now and then I get a guy that wants to do sales or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Part of my vetting process is I ignore him.
Okay.
Seriously.
Okay.
If he doesn't come back at me, I don't want to sell him on working for me.
Sure.
All right. It's got to be his decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to change his life. He's changing his job.
Sure.
He probably doesn't know if he can do it or not. And frankly, I don't know either. I mean,
Right.
it really doesn't matter if it's a sales guy, right?
Right. Right.
But I just don't chase them.
All right.
And I can teach anybody anything,
Sure.
you know. So I can make anybody into a sales guy. If they're a salesperson, I can make them into a roof sales guy.
Sure. Okay. That's funny you say that, because I hit with calls on call. I was talking to a guy, this appliance repair guy, and after 3 or 4 meetings of him being late and telling me how it's so rough to do whatever it is, so rough, not rough, so difficult to do what he's doing, right? And he's telling me it's just appliance repair, right? Name, address, phone number, whatever you got, what's broken, let's move on with our lives, right? We're talking about calls on call with answering phones.
Yeah.
And after 3, 4 meetings, I was like, you know what? If you're still interested, you can go ahead and call me because I don't chase. And
Yeah.
he took that. He was offended by that.
Well, James, all right. Now look at great technique. I understand it. All right.
Well, yeah.
But sometimes you got to know that that's not the right guy to do that with. It's like,
that wasn't even a technique. I
Right.
I had recently, I was this accountability group, right? And I'm just I'm meeting with people and they can't seem to make a decision. I swear to God, they must have to go to a committee to learn how to exhale or something like this.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, it's the 3 meeting max, right?
Did you get the job? Did you get this guy?
No. He's still
trying to make a decision.
He's still trying. Yeah, it's still just him and his kid.
Right.
Yeah, after I don't know, the better part of a decade.
I
So
was-
it wasn't a technique, I guess, is what I'm saying there. I'm just seriously, this is my rule.
Well, we should talk about sales techniques a little bit. I mean, essentially, that's what we're talking about. Are you able to make a sale? What are you using? While you're doing your presentation, what some of the techniques you might use in order to close a deal.
Sure.
When I've been doing sales, believe it or not, James, we're all doing sales.
Oh, totally.
I've been doing sales my whole life.
Whether in 7th grade or whether
right. So I'd be in Chicago on the bus or the subway, and I'll look you over. I'll look you from your shoes to your ears, and I'll try to figure out who you are and what your story is.
All right.
Now I'm not going to ask you after I do that. I just kind of have to go with whatever came up in my head. But there's not much difference, when you walk up to somebody's house.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look at their houses. I'm going to look at their cars. And when I meet them, I'm going to try to make a connection.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing you do. Where are you from? Oh, do you know so-and-so?
Mm-hmm.
Or you do this for a living. Oh, this is your hobby. You make a connection.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And then present yourself properly without too much extra. All right. And then a really great one, especially for me and especially for other new salespeople. Don't talk through your sale.
Right.
When you got your sale, shut your mouth,
Yep.
grab your keys, and go.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it can be dealt with later. But as you may notice, I like to talk, so
Sure.
sometimes I break that rule.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. The rule that I have is I should be talking 30% of the time or so.
that's your rule. That's
and
good.
they should be talking 70%.
Right. But in that exchange, all right, you might find that he needs to be the expert. Let him be the expert, but you got to identify that.
Sure.
You have to identify certain things and be the. He needs this much service.
Right.
He needs a lot less service. He don't want you to take too much of his time. I've had a few people that I've never met that I've done their roofs.
Yeah.
Because that's the way they want to do it.
We've done that with calls on call, and not so much with drawing customers. With calls on call in regards to phone answering, those are my favorite clients because they're the easiest to work with, and they completely understand if there's a problem, it gets solved. Those are never the people that are late making payments.
Yeah, because
right?
they know how business, you know.
They're just like boom, boom, boom. I used to, when I sold parts on a website for printers, I used to love dealing with guys on the East Coast. Because they were so, you talk to technicians over there and they're just
Forget
like,
about it.
we don't have to talk about the weather. We don't have to talk about what's going on in your life. This is the part I need. You either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is a 10-second
I love
conversation.
that guy. I love that guy.
Magic.
I'm down the road.
Yeah, magic.
With a signed contract. Yeah, I love that guy. But they're not all that guy.
No,
right?
That's a rare. I would
rare.
say 10% at best.
So, you know, it helps, you know, and this is where I was talking about making mistakes, because you don't learn this without making mistakes.
Right.
Right. So then you go back and reflect on the conversation later, and then you're like, oh, I should have said this.
Right.
Or, oh, I should have done that. Mm-hmm. And that's how you learn. But, yeah, you need to identify who you're working with.
Right. Interesting
quickly.
thing. No, talking about those people, like I figure 10% of the population fits in that regard, right? Direct, get things done, just movers and shakers,
yeah,
right?
Nice.
And I think there's probably about a quarter to a third of the population that wants to believe that they are, and so they try to run with that until they see some little footnote and they're like, "Wait, pump the brakes! What is this?" And it's some completely irrelevant thing. Like
That's a little bit of identifying who you're dealing with. You know?
Absolutely.
If you're good at this thing, you recognize that before they did.
Totally.
You know? And then that person probably wants to be the expert too. Mm-hmm. So let them be the expert. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a fun game.
It's a game.
But in the end, I'm still like, I just want to answer phones for your company, right? This is going to make your life better.
Here's what it's going to cost.
Yeah, this is what it is. Let's just figure out. I know that they can make more money than what they're paying me.
Yeah.
So everything's hunky-dory and happy. Why are we deliberating about this?
Lonely people, James. Some people are really lonely. There's that guy too that just doesn't want. I mean,
just needs a friend.
It's like, hey, before you leave, can you do this? Hey, can you do? You know, which we do, of course. But he just doesn't want to see you leave.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, I am more than happy to see my construction people leave. It means the job is done.
I know those people. You know, it's fine. You know.
Sure. Interesting. So, do you like to read?
I do. I'm actually a lit major.
Are you really?
We had this conversation 2 months ago. But, yeah, I was a French and English lit major in secondary education in college.
That is crazy. And you ended up owning a roofing business.
And then some.
And that's awesome. So you have a favorite book just overall?
Oh, geez. No, probably not.
Genre?
You know, a lot of what I read is classic literature,
okay.
and if it's on the New York Times bestseller list, I might be able to jump into it depending on what it's about.
Sure. Mm-hmm. All right. What are your thoughts on the Bold Business book?
I'm liking it, but I just we talked about this before. I read it in your voice.
That's awesome.
Did anybody else say that?
I had people tell me to record it as an audiobook with me doing that, so I did. Yeah. But you're the only one that said that when you read it. That's not to say that doesn't happen.
You know, and I'd love to bring this up. You had asked before, what are some of the things you're going through with your business? Mm-hmm. You provide for people a nice little checklist.
Well, thank you.
You know, and it's pretty, it might be missing a couple things when it comes to like marketing stuff.
Yep.
But as far as setting up your business, if you just walk down James's list, you're going to have everything that you need all in a row.
Yeah, so, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
That checklist went through some revisions.
Now you might not remember this, but I asked you for that about 4 years ago.
The checklist?
Yeah, I said somebody just ought to make a point-by-point program to start your business.
Did you? Interesting story.
It probably hit your subconscious. And you forgot all about me.
Probably.
Right?
Yeah. I did. I put it together because I'm teaching this business planning class, right?
Right.
And people, they're way green, right? They don't even know what they don't know. I mean, generally speaking, I don't either, but they are way psycho green. And so they're like getting overwhelmed at the minutest of details, right? Like, what should I name my LLC? And like, it doesn't matter. You can always do a doing business as, right? Don't get stuck on that. Don't get stuck on that because that's the tiny insignificant detail to you starting your business.
I don't know. I could talk for that about half an hour. That one.
Right.
It does kind of matter. You can change it later, but just don't get stuck. It'll come to you. How's that?
Right.
It's eventually going to come to you what it's supposed to be called.
But you can do a doing business as little form, not a big deal. Move on with your life, right? Or
Until you get your printing done and your card's done and your
No,
accounts
no, no.
are all
I
in.
don't mean business name. I mean just the name you use for your LLC, right?
Oh, right.
Because that's not set in
Oh,
stone.
yeah, nobody cares about that.
Yeah.
Nobody sees that.
No.
Yeah.
No. So it's just interesting what they were getting hung up on. So that's why I put that checklist together. Just
All right.
like first month, boom. 6 months, boom.
Yeah.
And go celebrate and have a good time. So it's fun. What do you do to relax?
Oh, I love to fish for trout.
Okay.
And I love to watch my son play soccer.
Oh.
I probably watch my son play soccer close to 20 hours a week.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm into it.
Holy cow.
He's into it. He's really into it.
20 hours a week, you better be.
Yeah, he works. He works hard. My kid works hard.
All right.
Yeah, he's my inspiration.
A few leagues or how does like that's a
He
ton
does
of
like an
time.
advanced league, and he does everything that they could throw at him.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's doing great. He's 12.
Is he like Olympic gonna be or
He's got look,
hobbyish?
James. My kid's got goals,
All right.
and
The
I'm
iron.
going to tell you something. He knocks them out.
All right.
I'm super proud of him, and he inspires me because
Sure.
for him it's really simple because he doesn't have a lifetime of fears.
Okay. Oh.
Okay,
All
for him
right.
it's very who cares? This is what we're doing today.
Sure.
But he knocks out his goals. He's just
Yeah.
and really inspires everybody.
That is so interesting that you say
So
that.
I love soccer and I love fishing. I love fishing trout. I fish for everything, but I love to put on my waders and go in the driftless area and fish for trout.
Okay. Is it hard? I'm not much of a fisher person besides panfish.
It
so.
doesn't matter, James. When you're out there fishing, it doesn't matter.
See, that's one of those things that I just do not understand.
Sure, you're not wired that way.
No.
You're a hard rocker and a
Yeah.
gearhead.
Yes, straight up your head.
Yeah.
It's gotta move. It doesn't have wheels. I don't know why it's a
Right.
hobby.
You want to go fast, I want to go slow.
All right, that's exactly true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just did not the whole hunting fishing thing. I was talking with my brother-in-law, and I'm like, wait a second, you just wait? That's what you do in this
For
duck in this
days.
duck blind? You wait?
For hours and hours.
That seems like a terrible waste of time to me.
It is a horrible waste of time.
Okay.
It's very spiritual, though. I mean, if you can, appreciate the spirituality and being out in nature, not doing anything, then the whether you're fishing or hunting ducks or
Sure.
hunting deer it's all beside the point.
That's a fair point. I guess it would be a reason to get yourself out in nature, right?
Yeah, sure. So is a walk
Sure.
with a cup of coffee.
But I mean, if you know, like, hey, it's opening fishing season, I'm gonna go out and enjoy myself and be.
You anticipate,
Yeah.
and that's fun.
Sure.
And you gear up. It's all about the gear, James.
Is it?
It's all about the gear.
All right.
All right. It's all about going to Cabela's and getting that thing that you wanted.
Sure. I suppose you can push your money away on any hobby, right? As far as you want
Yeah,
to go.
my hobbies are soccer
Mhm.
and fishing, for
Soccer's
sure.
got to be relatively inexpensive, I suppose.
No, it is not.
It is not?
I bet you I got about over $1,000 in just shoes alone this year.
Holy cow. I was thinking just like a $12 ball.
No, dude, balls are $30 at the minimum, up to $160.
My kid's only
Shoes
4.
are $300. Yeah,
$300 for a pair of shoes?
and for a growing kid, yeah,
Oh, can he fly with them?
he can fly, man.
Holy cow, he better be.
He can fly.
Holy cow. I think that if I have to buy my kid $300 pair of shoes, that kid's going to be doing soccer 20 hours a week as well.
Well, we tried to break it down how much per goal they cost.
Oh,
That helps.
nice. Okay. Get the kicking, kid. That's so funny. All right. So far through all of the businesses that you've done, people you worked for, what are some few takeaways in regards to what you've learned so far?
But there's really so much.
Like if your son was going to tell you 10 years.
If
right?
I'm going to tell somebody who's getting out there,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I would say, do your homework, learn about what you're doing. It's always nice to talk to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what's going on. Don't lie.
Sure.
Just don't lie. Those guys, nobody likes a liar.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much easier to tell the truth,
Right.
what's going on. Have a heart. For me, some people, everybody's situation is different. Try to
Sure.
recognize what their situation is and have a heart.
Mm-hmm.
And really be yourself. Don't compromise yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever you are. If you're some jerk that wakes up in the morning and looking for a way to get over on somebody else, and that's
Right.
the way you are, then go ahead and be that way. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not that guy, don't be that guy.
Sure.
You don't need to do that. I got life rules, James. I got a whole bunch of them.
Do you really?
Yeah.
What are some?
Number one, don't put anything around your neck that's worth more than your head.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Other ways of saying that: don't cut off your nose in spite of your face. Don't
Okay.
write a check that your butt can't cash.
Sure.
It's all that kind of stuff. Don't, especially if you're new in business, don't take on more than you can realistically do.
Mm-hmm.
That's a way that will destroy your business.
Huge mistake I see a lot of times.
Major deal. So that's a Rule 1 violation.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Sure.
Be fair. And be nice to people. You don't need to win every battle.
Sure.
You don't.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what you want to get out of your business.
Right. Right.
Don't try to exceed that. Don't try to do less than that. But
Sure.
identify what it is that you're trying to do and do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have fun. We're doing this because this is fun.
It's a blast.
Some idiot said, if you do what you love and you never work a day in your life.
Right.
That guy.
Yeah.
It is a lot like that, James.
Sure.
Have subject material that you can digest.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I don't know anything about rocks. I'm not going to be a geologist. I can't remember the names of rocks, James,
Sure.
but I can remember all sorts of stuff about roofing.
All right.
So stay in your wheelhouse. And one thing that you said earlier is you said he don't know what he doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's big. Mm-hmm. Identify what it is that you don't know,
Right.
and get somebody that knows how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to know how to do everything.
Absolutely not.
Find
Definitely.
that guy, whatever it is, whether it's office work or whatever part of your business.
Sure.
All right, that you don't know, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Find a guy, put your team together.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. There's so many people that I see in business. I wrote that blog about it, right? The Noctility. No one can do it like I do it.
Right.
How people just get this, I'm going to start my business, I'm going to do the paperwork, mop the floors, do whatever it is that I'm trying to sell, do the sales, the marketing, the emails, phone calls, all that stuff.
You have to have the ability to be honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have that, you're going to run into trouble. And it's probably the journey that we all go on. We don't have that at the beginning. We develop that along the way.
Right.
And if we didn't, we're punching a clock at a factory. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's some people that works for them. But when you work for yourself, you don't know how much you're going to make. That's a good thing and a bad thing.
Right. There's no biweekly paycheck necessarily.
There's no. Well, I mean, if you want to run yourself out of the payroll and pay yourself a salary, you can do that.
Sure.
Say pay yourself first and all that. But when it gets thin, it gets thin.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it just means you got to hit the pavement a little harder, right?
Yeah, hopefully, right?
Or
hopefully you can.
Spring comes around, so.
Well, yeah, for me it's seasonal, so.
Sure.
I just spent 3 months doing not as much as I would normally do, I suppose, but.
Sure.
We keep busy. In the winter, we do windows and those type of things.
Okay. It's interesting because I grew up in Eau Claire, where construction was shut down for 6 months a year.
Oh, yeah.
When I moved down to Madison close to 20 years ago, and it slows down, but I wouldn't say that it shuts down. There's definitely some.
There's certain things. We really shouldn't be shingling roofs in the winter.
Right.
There's an adhesion strip that activates at 45 degrees. If I do a winter roof, it's a subpar roof.
Sure.
And there will be problems with it later. They're getting this problem with new construction.
Sure.
For us.
Right.
They can't help it. They got to do it. If they don't put a roof on, they can't do the drywall and the electric and all that. So it has to be done when it's done.
Sure.
So some of those are unavoidable, but at least we're not going to do a roof for the sake of making a few bucks in December when it could just as easily be done.
Sure. Just wait till March or April.
Yeah.
Sure. When it gets a little warmer.
Absolutely.
Snow is melting.
It'll still be there.
Nice. So do you have an exit strategy set up?
No.
Just keep roofing.
My grandfather told me when I was very young.
Yeah.
He was a slick dude. He had slick back hair and a tan. He used to play pool with Willie Moscone in Minnesota Fats.
All right.
He was that kind of guy.
Nice.
He said, son, if you do that for 100 years, you're going to live a long time. So I'm going with that.
Truer words haven't been spoken. That's awesome. So do you? Does your wife feel the same way? You're just hoping.
You know, probably it just doesn't feel like work often, and,
Sure.
and really that's the point that you guys like you and me need to hammer home. You know, these guys that are starting out, it doesn't feel like work. So you're
That's
not
fair.
You're not paining yourself for the bell to hit 4:00 so you could go home. And the victories are yours. You know, they don't belong to somebody else that you're working for.
No, very true.
So you know, you got to like it.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier.
You gotta love it.
You got to love it, man. You know, you're
Yeah.
a grinder. You know, you're always
Yeah.
working on something.
Yep.
You know, and you wouldn't be doing it if there weren't things that you love. But I don't
fun.
see any difference, you know, for you probably between calls on call and working on your car, for example, writing your book or working on your car.
No.
You know, because they come equally as easy to you.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I sold the majority of the hobby cars, the old Chevys, and I even got rid of my motorcycle.
Are you lonely now?
No.
No.
Well, I have I missed the motorcycle, but the motorcycle is one of those things that you look at it and you're like, oh, it'd be sweet to take that out today, but I can't carry anything on it. There's no windshield, so any more than 20 minutes and I'm tired from riding that
Sure,
thing.
isn't that funny?
Yeah, people hit mailboxes, so it's tiring just driving the thing, like riding it. You have to look for traffic much more than they're looking for you. So it's actual work. So, and plus I got a 4-year-old kid and they don't make baby seats for motorcycles. I checked. So the window of opportunity to actually enjoy that piece of machinery was tiny. And I'm like, I got money and storage space tied up in this thing that I love, but just can't.
Buddy, I have a boat like that.
I think a lot of people have boats like that.
I have a boat that leaks.
Oh, no.
And you bring it out there, and you don't know what kind of adventure you're going to go on. Bilge pump goes out, battery
Sure.
goes dead, you're
Sure.
sinking in the middle of the lake. And
Not ideal.
It's an adventure.
Not
It's
ideal.
kind of like business.
That's right. Right. Let's just do this.
It's
We'll
kinda
see
like
what
business.
happens.
Just wear your life jacket.
That's what they're for. Awesome, Dan. Well, I appreciate you coming out, man.
James, it was a lot of fun.
This has been a
Thanks
blast.
for asking me.
I could talk to you for a couple more hours about this, right?
Right?
Just want to hear more about your major. I can't believe I forgot that. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I kind of forgot most of it myself.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggles, stories, triumphant successes, and leaking boat stories from business owners across the land. Coming to you from the Sun Prairie Community Studios, underwritten by Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, business coach at Draw In Customers Business Coaching and author of the Bold Business Book. We'd like to thank you, our listeners, and our guest, Dan Dolbeau of Panther Exteriors. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, James.
This is a blast.
Good times. Good times.
That's right. Good times indeed. Find us airing on 103.5 Wednesdays at 6 p.m. and Sundays at 2 p.m., as well as at the sunprairiemediacenter.com. We can also be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link on drawitandcustomers.com. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week. Stay awesome and enjoy the process.